Good evening, everybody. This is another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight with Robin Nelson. And my guests tonight they are both writers, producers, actors, and creators. Zane Hershberger and Sable Griedel. Did I pronounce your last name right?
That's perfect.
All right, guys, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, okay. You guys are doing the film, which is going to be coming out soon. Tell me a little bit about Treaters and how you guys got together to do this.
Sable?
Zane, floating head, would you like to start?
I'll start a little bit, then you can pick up.
Okay.
Treaters was originally a concept I came up for 1031 Part 2. It was just a fake trailer. And I did the trailer as it got a lot of good positive buzz about it. People said, you should make that into a feature. So I started toying around with the idea of doing it, and I was fishing the waters for Sable to bite on it, and she needed a little coerce. But once I laid down a sort of like a basic treatment, she was on board, and then she and I sat down, and we would do like Zoom calls and that, and just started writing it. And it wrote actually pretty fast and pretty fun. We had a good time with it.
Yes, I was definitely not biting when he pitched the idea. I was really tired when he first told me about it, and I was like, no. But then, yeah, once he started fleshing out the actual storyline and characters, I was definitely way more into it. And it did make COVID go faster because, yeah, we started writing it right before. And so then, yeah, it was all Zoom meetings, us writing the rest of it. So it definitely took up a lot of time where time was taking forever. So that was kind of nice. And, yeah, it was a good time.
So, Sable, were you also part of the movie Treaters? Were you one of the characters?
Yes. I was in a race car driver outfit in the faux trailer originally. And that's kind of why I wasn't into the whole story, because I was like, the faux trailer is kind of a little story in itself. And I told Zane, I'm like, you pretty much tell the whole story right there. Like, what else does the audience want to know from the faux trailer? And so then when he gave me a little bit more, I was like, all right, yeah, people might dig this. They could get a little bit more out of that. So
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about Treaters. I didn't see the trailer from 1031 Part 2. What's the story about?
Sable, go ahead, because I think you explain this better than I do, actually.
So essentially it focuses on, at least in the beginning, they're kind of two side stories, but these legend tripping girls, people, go onto their YouTube channel or whatever. They suggest haunted locations, and then these girls go and sort of, check it out. So kind of like ghost hunters, legend trippers a little bit. And the night of Halloween is where we find ourselves. We've got a local public access show hostess, kind of like Elvira, that wants to join us. We're going to join our two tiny fan bases, get a little bit more popularity. And then the person that gives us a place to go, she's like, okay, I'm going to give you a scary place to go, but you have to take me with you. And so she joins us as well. So then all of us go together to find this new scary place. We get lost. We end up in sort of another realm. The veils are thin on Halloween. And into a night of danger and chaos. Monsters, death. That's, where we're headed. But it is really fun. Zane and I, when we were writing this, we really kind of fell in love with all the characters. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie where I'm just like, I love all of you. Like, all of you are just great. And so that's probably one of my favorite things about it is we'll go back now when we film things and I'm like, oh yeah, these guys are really fun. I think people will enjoy watching them, come to life. So,
and it's kind of cool to, when you write it, and we had certain people in mind. Some of them we had to switch out on that, but once we started filming and you saw those actors bringing those characters alive, we couldn't be happier. Like, we got a really good cast of people. They play it to the hilt. They're great. I don't think we could have found better people, honestly.
Yeah, it's great. Amazing.
So, is there going to be any, great special effects in this film? A lot of goriness?
So, yeah, we definitely pushed for practical effects in this to the hilt. There might be a little bit of visual stuff. There always is, just to, tweak some things here and there. But everything's practical effects. It's all monster suits and creature puppets and good full on gore. Like it's going to be pretty fun. There's fight. Like I love doing fights in movies. Like I said, Force to Fear, we did a lot of combat. There's fighting in this, so it's a lot of things I love to just put into this movie. So I'm it's like atmosphere, monsters, fighting, like everything, synth music. So,
of course.
So the monsters, did you guys like create the costumes for it, or did you guys have somebody from like a creature shop make them?
We have a gentleman we know who's an effects artist who's doing that. We're not that skilled. I wish I could do that.
Well, that's not entirely true. I will say that we aren't designing them physically, but the creatures themselves are creations from us. Like we.
Oh, right, but we're not making more designs. Or like actually, one creature in the movie is actually from a dream that she had.
Yes. It was from a nightmare, and it was nightmare fuel. So I was like, "Oh, well, this is perfect. We'll translate this into a monster for a movie."
Yeah, in the original Treaters trailer, we showed the scene, and it was actually a big spider. And I was like, "Yeah, that was cool." But it's like, can we do something crazy? And she came up with this idea. I said, "Let's have this creature come out of this box, and that instead of the spider." So it's definitely makes me happy. Like when we see it that. We went a little bit further than just the spider. Like it shows a little bit more pizzazz, a little more imagination, I think, with this creature.
Mm-hmm. But physically, we're definitely not building them.
Yeah.
Ooh, Sable, you had me at nightmare. So what was this nightmare about? Which you based one of the creatures off. Tell me about this crazy nightmare of yours.
So I don't honestly remember. There wasn't a ton to it. It was one of those quick things, but I was definitely. They were large insect-type creatures with humanoid faces, and I distinctly remember these like big Cheshire cat smiles on their faces. And so, like, I kind of pitched it to Zane. I'm like, they're sort of bug-like. They're really big, and they have these like creepy, like human smiles on their face. And so that was definitely the basis of it. There wasn't a lot to the dream except they were coming for me. That was it. And
that's
enough.
I
was like, all right, yeah, that's cool. Right. So I tried to draw it, and I was like, okay, this is what I had a dream of. Do you think we could, make this work?
That does sound like a little wild, crazy dream. I bet you probably woke up in a sweat going, what the?
Yeah,
You're like, what the heck? Oh, this would be great for treaters. Let me write this down so I don't forget, and I'll go bother Zane. It's like, let's do this.
Yes, definitely. Exactly like that.
Now you guys did a film, which you just mentioned, called Force to Fear, which, had a lot of martial art fighting in it. And before we got in the show, Zane, you were telling me that Sable kicked a lot of ass and trained for 3 months to learn some martial arts. So, Sable, what was that like to learn martial arts in 3 months that you never did anything like that before? What was going through your mind?
It was a lot of work. Zane was a very good teacher. I remember the first night we worked on just blocks, like just blocking formations. And the next day I was so sore, and I was like, we didn't even do anything. Like, I haven't even hit anybody. I didn't swing, and if I hurt this bad now, how's it going to go? But honestly, it was a lot of fun. I mean, Zane and I had a lot of good times practicing. There's a lot of hard work memorizing the choreography. It was definitely painful in certain points throughout.
It beat me up.
I cut Zane's head open at one point.
He hit me with a nightstick.
Yeah, with the taunt. But it was really good. Like, we had.
Oh yeah, it was like Daredevil. Like, she threw it like a missile. Like, it flew like it was like a Daredevil move. It was pretty crazy.
And then Zane bled everywhere and had to get 6 stitches. So that was one of the bloodier of our practices, but honestly, it was really good. Like, not just Zane and I, Zane teaching me learning, but also like the time we got to spend with Chad and April and some of the other cast of actors was a lot of fun. Like, I feel like we spent a lot of quality time together, like learning the fights, kind of like a dance. And then, that translating onto camera later. It was really cool. Like, I had a great time. That's so far probably one of my favorite characters I've ever played.
You could tell because you absorbed that information like a sponge. Like, you went through it like so. I mean, there was so much that we went through, like basic I'd say white belt, orange belt techniques all the way up. And we started getting more, like, as you went up, we did more spinning, more jumping, jump spinning. Like, she just started going through it all. And I was actually pretty impressed with how much she took all that information in that short of time. So it looked great. She looks great on film.
I definitely got to check out that film and see her in action. And I bet she probably wore a cool, like, costume too, you know, looking all badass.
Everyone did. Like, we wanted it to look like a canon film from the 80s, so like everyone looked like sort of like punky, like sort of, it was like a gang, like a street gang, punky kind of, So it was, it's a cool.
That was cool.
Mm-hmm. God bless Canon Films. I love how you paid a homage to it. Those were the best back in the day.
I agree.
So, well, congratulations. Your other film is going to be at the Whorehound Film Festival in August, Cryptids, with Joe Bob Briggs, and you're going to have like a great cast. How long? Didn't you say it took you like 10 years to make this film?
10 years. So that movie that's where she and I first met. I actually had my segment was the first one being shot when we came up with the idea. And I actually had another actress lined up, and she bailed on me like 2-3 weeks before shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And I desperately went out looking for someone, and I found her. And she agreed to do it. In fact, I remember I met her, and I was like, if she can even remember a line, she's in. But she also, when I worked, like, had her go to the line, she just did these little subtle things I really enjoyed. And I was like, yeah, she's definitely perfect. So we shot the segment, came out pretty good. And then the project kind of died at that moment because other people that were helping just kind of stopped. So I was like, oh, we have a short film that, you know, we can use at some point. But then when I helped Justin Seaman with the barn, he liked the idea. So we resurrected the idea. And then we just started inviting other filmmakers into film. And then, you know, luckily because it took 10 years was how we were able to get Joe Bob Briggs involved as well. So it was kind of like, you know, what they call it, a curse and a blessing at the same time. And it's fine. I'm so great to get this thing off my plate. It's been
10 years
been a long
later.
time going. But I said her segment that she's in is fantastic. It's she did a great job in it. So, again, future movie star right there. She's great and everything.
Oh, so Sable, are you going to also be at the Whorehound Film Festival?
I don't know the details. I'm not sure. We had planned a couple weekends of filming in August, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so we're not sure if that's what's going to happen yet.
Yeah, we're trying really hard to lock down our actors for as many days as we can for
It's
treaters.
been tough.
So, if they're available, we're taking them. So we'll wait and see. I was talking to him about that as well. I think that's awesome with between Cryptids and the barn too. That, you know, we got a lot going on there. That's really cool. But yeah, I think we'll probably be filming if I had to guess, just so we could get some more treaters.
Just knowing how things have been going, probably.
Under our belt, yeah. Scheduling has been kind of a nightmare, so we'll take whatever we can get.
So without spoiling it, I know you're shooting it, and there's not like a premise. Can you give me a little description about it?
Treaters?
About which?
Cryptids.
Cryptids?
Go for it, Zane.
So, Cryptids is basically just our love of just cryptozoology, monsters. Like when I was a kid, I grew up reading books on like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and stuff. And there was a book I read when I was a kid. It was called Monsters You Never Heard Of, and it introduced me to stuff like Jersey Devil, the Dover Demon. And I was like, oh man, these are like things I've never even heard of because everyone's heard of Bigfoot and all that. So we were talking, and we were like, what's the best way? We should do like an anthology with each monster as a story, just like in that book, like each chapter was a different monster. We're like, well, what's the best way to support that or, you know, get it out there? And we thought there used to be a radio, I don't know if they still do, if there's a radio station or a show. It was called Coast to Coast with Art Bell.
That's still on. They still do that Coast to Coast. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that was the inspiration. So we have a DJ. We got callers calling in with monsters. it kind of wrote itself then. And that's what we wanted to do, is just wanted to do kind of like a love to like those type, you know, those shows plus the, you know, cryptozoology creatures.
That's going to be pretty fun. That's one of the films I'm so looking forward to seeing at, Whorehound Film Festival, because I cover that film. I mean, I cover other horror film festivals, but Whorehound's like on my top list with Days of the Dead. But when I found out you were showing that, I was like, oh hell yeah, definitely going to see that. And plus, I'll definitely get a red carpet interview with you too, which is pretty cool. So your film and Tori Jones's film, Phantom Fun World, are like the two of my favorites so far of the film festival.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we have another one we worked that she was as The Barn 2. We'll be showing there as well.
Speaking of Barn 2, I thought it was a great film. I saw it at Nightmares Film Festival in Columbus, and I did an interview with Justin Seaman, and we were talking about The Barn, and he had this coloring book, the storybook he did when he was a kid, based off the Barn film. So he had it with him, so I got to kind of look at it a little bit, which is so cool. I mean, he was this little kid with this wild imagination, and then boom, he does both the Barn films. The cinematography was phenomenal in that film. I loved the certain angles and shots, the zoom-ins, how you did it, because I know you filmed both films, Barn 1 and 2. I enjoyed the cinematography. I loved the music. And in Barn 2, I loved the quirky characters. And my friend Anthony Brownlee, he was in it. Good old,
he's one of the railroad guys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
he's
Anthony.
one of the zombie railroad guys, yep.
Yeah, the Barn films were fun. And Justin Seaman is just like... He just has that wild imagination, and he's a great writer, and and I'm glad he's being part of Cryptids, with his anthology story. And I'm also looking forward to see what Justin does next. I mean, he has a lot of talent.
Yeah, I mean, he's got stuff coming out the pipe. We're always like we work in conjunction here, so we have a lot of stuff. We're always shooting stuff. There's always something going on.
Plenty of stuff going on.
Sometimes I maybe take on too much.
That's wild.
Get myself in trouble.
Okay, Sable, when you're not like writing, producing, filmmaking, and acting, doing all this fun stuff, do you have a geek passion that you enjoy when you're not filmmaking?
Filmmaking is definitely my favorite. Well, I would say acting is my favorite, and then filmmaking second. Although I will say that I have
not true. It's not true.
Learned a lot of valuable things from filmmaking that I definitely wouldn't trade. So yes,
you like scheduling the best.
No, I don't. I hate it. It's terrible. But that's my favorite thing. I actually did some community theater for a while, but I have a regular 9 to 5 like the rest of us, and then we're weekend warriors for the filmmaking. That's pretty much it. Work hard at my job, and then work hard filmmaking, and then if I can find any other acting gigs on the side, I do that as well. I'm also a union painter now, so I do painting side work as well, as well as acting. But that's definitely my favorite for sure.
And what about you, Zane?
I have a regular 9 to 5 job. I work for the 3M company. It's pretty boring. I'm not going to lie. My whole outlet of my life is filmmaking. If it wasn't for that.
Yeah, it's our creative juice.
Yeah,
our creative outlet is here. Yeah, for sure.
I go get the bills paid, and I go home and write and shoot movies, which is my passion.
So you could write a horror film about your 3M company. Why don't you do that?
Yeah, I could. Unless they sue me for telling the truth.
That's funny. Yeah.
Make it a factory job gone wrong or something. Have somebody blood up on a conveyor belt or something. Yeah. Make it a revenge thriller. Don't call it 3M. Just make up a name and be like, people would see that.
Yeah, it's 2W.
The 3M stands for 3 murders. Oh, yeah. That's a little light, though. Kind of. 3 murderers. There we go.
The 3 murderers.
Possibility.
As long as one of them isn't you, we're good.
Yeah, why?
I love how you guys have that great relationship between each other. How you guys can talk off one another and stuff too. Have you ever guys thought about doing more films and also getting together and starting a production company or a studio yourselves?
Well, we did. So, 4 creators, we started Silver Springs LLC, which is close to Zane's heart. That was a drive-in where he used to go as a kid, where he grew up. And so that was, his sort of touch of home, and then we just turned it into our little production company. And so anything that we put out now moving forward, Traders will be our, well, yeah, because Force to Fear was separate.
Force to Fear kind of is under it, but that was more of like we put that on our own like thing, Chad and I.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is basically officially with her and I starting the Silver Springs like logo or brand or whatever. This will probably be the official first, and we have other films like on the conveyor going. There's one, I guess I'll bring it up now. There's another anthology we want to do next. It's called Terrors at the Drive-In.
Oh, nice.
These people break into an old drive. Well, not old. They break into a drive-in after hours because they got kicked out. And they're kind of mad. They're like, they're like, we're owed movies. So they start breaking in, and they turn on these the projector, and they find this reel, and they start watching it. You get 3 different movies, and as they watch them, the end of the villains from the movie start coming out of the theater to, pay them back.
And that's wild. You know something? You should get Joe Bob for that too.
If I could afford him, I would.
I like how he said that. It's like, if I can afford Joe Bob or Darcy, shoot, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, what was it like to work with Joe Bob on Cryptids?
It was great. I mean, I watched Joe Bob growing up. He used to do a show, I think it was on the movie channel.
Yeah, it's called Drive-In Theater. Yep.
Drive-In Theater. I saw that as a kid.
I did too.
So to have him just there in front of me, I said I used to watch Monster Vision as well, like growing up, and I had had a couple of his books. So to work with him was like real surreal. Like I was really fanboy geeking out, but I had to like keep composure because I don't want to be that guy. So it's like, I don't want to be like Chris Farley. Be like, remember that show that show you did? Yeah, that was a good show. It's like so. But very cool. I was able to talk to him because, like I said, I had the same sensibilities with him with like direct-to-video movies and B movies and that. So we had a lot of good conversations, and it was cool. I said I really never thought in my life I'd ever meet him or talk to him in the way I got to there. So it was fantastic.
How did you get him to do it? I mean, he did Barn 2. How did you get him to do it? I mean, how long did it take him to...
Well, actually, the Barn 2 thing he did while he was filming Cryptids.
Really?
Yeah, Justin set up that little booth off to the side, and we just shot, like, when you see him in that booth, that's inside the Cryptids, like, radio station. He just put that booth off to the side, and we lit it like it was out. This is tricky editing. So... we double teamed him there that day. Got our money's worth out of him.
That was worth it. I would have done the same thing too.
Yeah.
And then also on the Barn 2, you can tell Darcy, she had a ball.
Yeah. She came on. Justin reached out. She was actually even later than Joe Bob. She came in last minute, and they filmed like a weekend with her, and basically she was like kind of integrated in there. I thought pretty well when I saw it. It didn't look like she wasn't there for those scenes at all. Like, I mean, it doesn't feel like she's not there. Like I was like, oh man, this actually worked pretty well.
Yeah.
So, where can everybody find you on social media, and what projects you guys will be doing next in the future?
Well, you can find me at my OnlyFans page.
Ooh, that's hot! I'll pay $100. Will you wear a leopard skin Speedo?
Among other things.
Yeah, among other things. Leopard skin something. So, just my name is Zane Hershberger on Instagram and Facebook. We should honestly, we have to start getting a website together too to start, because now that we start getting more projects, we're going to want to start, promoting it. Sable, you and I.
We do have Silver Springs Films on Instagram, and then I'm Sable on Instagram, and then Sable Griedel on Facebook. But yeah, we did purchase the domain rights for silverspringsfilms.com. It's just not up and running yet. We wanted to build that. Since Traders is our first project, we didn't have a ton to put on there, but now that we're sort of building it, we have more projects coming down the pike in terms of Terrace the Drive and some other ideas that Zane has. We'll probably start to flesh that out. We'll have more information to post up there. But yeah, that's probably our next endeavor, is to build that website out so people can come and see what projects we have going on.
I have a tendency to always want to be creating, and I need the strong-headed one too.
I bring him back down to earth.
She's like, remember how you almost had a stroke last month? Let's
get your blood pressure down, sir. And
let's
then we'll
not do this right now. Let's concentrate on this project and not the 3 in the future.
Yeah,
exactly.
The 18 that are floating around in your brain right now as we speak.
18, thank you for being keeping that low number.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming on and sharing your story with me and my audience.
Sure.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a blast.
All right. Everybody have a great evening.